Welcome back everyone to the New Zealand National Championship, and we are in round 6 and we've got a doozy lined up here. We've got two 5-0 players. We've got Cayle McCreath, a community legend who's been a player since day one. Very much noted for his Guardian play, like he's a bit of a Bravo player, and it looks like he might be playing another Guardian here in Cayle's Varia draft. And of course on the other side we have Kieran Carnegie, who some of our viewers may not know, but we had a Monarch Seal Deck and Draft calling earlier this year in Auckland, New Zealand, and I believe he went either 11-1 or 12-0 across the Swiss rounds.
He definitely came first in Swiss.
Yeah, so it might have been 12-0, so obviously a highly accomplished limited player. And what I'm super excited about, we've got no Briar. We got Lexi versus Oldhim. And now I have to say, you know, sometimes between rounds I go and wander the room and have a quick chat to the players. Cayle has told me he's very confident in his deck today. Yep. He believes he has a very strong Oldhim deck. Now, he's got no equipment. But yeah.
Very strong though.
Very strong. But apparently he's very confident in his deck, so I think this will be a good one. We can see Kieran on the other side.
Put them in stacked, you know.
Mark of Lightning.
Deep blue, holding hood.
Okay, now the deep blue, we haven't quite seen that one yet, but it's great for just when you have those like...
Red hands.
Yeah, when you have those red hands, you're able to get rid of them to kind of deep freeze and get those blue pitch cards in.
This game reminds me of, it's like this battle between Auckland and Wellington. Two of the top players in each city battling it out.
Exactly, and this is a pretty good start from Kieran here. So he's got the Blizzard Bolt Fuse coming in for 5. I believe with Dominates, this is turn 1, but we'll see. So if that hits, it's going to create a Frostbite for Cayle. Cayle's probably really hoping he's got an Earth card, a blue Earth card in hand so he can defend this fully. So we see he's got defending for 3 reactions. And looks like he has the Earth. Okay. So here we see the power of Oldhim right away. So the great thing about this is you haven't used any cards in your deck, obviously. You've traded 1 for 1, you haven't taken any damage, there's no Frostbite, no First Blood damage there.
Yeah, Cayle choosing to keep the turn timber, which is very important against Lexi, a big dominant error in turn timber.
Absolutely.
Follow the defender's attack.
Okay, and just as you said that, it seems he's pitching the turn timber, but...
Alright, Strength for Sequoia, fused.
Okay, so that's a Seismic Surge token, I believe, on the...
Yeah, it's a Seismic Surge, and then it's a red, so the next Guardian attack action gets +3. So
this will be an interesting next turn to see what happens here, because obviously Kieran will be wanting to put the pressure on to strip cards, so it doesn't allow Cayle to get this giant Guardian attack off. And we'll see what Cayle's able to follow this up with. If he wants to go with a Frost Hammer, for example, and keep an Arsenal card, which might set up a Strength of Sequoia turn, or just simply, tighten his fist. Cayle's well used to swing with the hammer, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Cayle's ideal would be attacking with an attack action because Strength of Sequoia does not affect the hammer.
Oh, yep. Sorry, I mean for next turn. For the strength.
So he's hammering now. Come in for 3 only.
And the Rejuvenate. Now I love this card because gains 3 life up to 23. Also, one thing to watch out for as well, it's very good with cards like Turn Timber, which cost 2, because you can pitch a blue card, fuse your turn Timber, use a final resource to play Rejuvenate as an instant. And as Newson alluded to earlier, so Auckland and Wellington are 2 of New Zealand's biggest cities. So obviously that friendly rivalry that goes on between the places, and it's great to see, like you said, 2 top players from the regions battle it out here.
Oh, he's defending with his Oakenold.
There we go, defending with the Oakenold just like that, no hesitation.
Ooh.
So I wonder if this gives us a bit of an insight into Cayle's game plan here. If he's considering just right off the bat maybe slightly more of a fatigue strategy, or if it's just simply that was the card he had available at the moment.
Here we see a Overflex with paired with a Chilling Ice Mane fused. And here we go, Turn Timber. Fused.
Turn Timber.
And then use Oldham's ability, preventing all damage. Yeah. However, Cayle is left with 0 cards, so the Strength of Sequoia won't be doing much. So Cayle elects to pass.
Yeah, so there we go. To players who may have missed that, it was a little bit short-cutted, but I believe he defended with the Turn Timber Fuse and then used the Hero ability of Oldhim to prevent the other 2 damage. Right. Both these players, I think, are pretty good at playing quickly, so we might see a little bit of that here and there.
Lexi revealing Polar Blast. very, very good ice cards to keep in your arsenal. Being able to give your attacks dominate.
Yep, unless
and
they
draw a card.
Yeah, so Cayle's going to have to pay 1 resource here to prevent the dominate, I believe.
I think Cayle chose not to pay.
Okay, so he's living life on the edge a little bit.
Or weave ice.
Okay, I think now we're starting to see why these players are doing so well. These are 2 very strong decks, and I love it.
Activate Shiver.
So Chilling Ice Vent's coming down.
I believe it's +1 from Shiver because it's already got Dominate.
Of course, yeah, from the Weave Ice ability. So I think that's coming in for 7, potentially. Let's see, here we see another Turn Timber. Getting rid of that. And
it's the red one. It's the red one. You're right, Kieran?
it looks like it might be yellow, but I think that defends it up fully, doesn't it? Because that's for 7. So just like that, getting rid of. I mean, Kieran will be probably pretty happy to see a few of those 2 Turn Timbers gone.
And here we go. Snow Under coming in for 7.
Now these are some of those just 3 cost, really powerful, 3 cost 7 power attacks here. Now it's not Fuse, so it doesn't have the Frostbite, but with Lexi, you don't really want to fall into that trap of saying, hey, I'll just take 7 and hit you back, because Oldhim has extremely powerful defensive options.
Yeah.
Now, what are your thoughts here? Do you think Kieran might be a little concerned about how this early game has gone with some of these big attacks and pumps being used and without pushing damage through?
Yeah, he definitely needs to worry about it, because if you can't get damage through Oldhim and you eventually fatigue, your Lexi, you don't have a weapon that attacks, whereas Oldhim has a weapon that attacks with 3 or 4 each turn. So
okay, well, I mean,
so it definitely benefits Cayle to take it to late game.
Absolutely, and you know, I said you can't just take too much damage over and over, but you know, he's pretty comfortable taking 7 there. So we'll see what he's got lined up.
He flips Icy Encounter.
Okay.
I think he's going to activate Honing Hood this turn.
Yeah, so the Honing Hood would allow him to put, I believe that might be a Bolton shot in his hand.
Yeah.
But the problem is that's not going to get pumped, is it, for the go again? But
No.
we'll see, though. Both, as we say, both these players are very good, so I'm sure they've got sort of a line of play going through their mind at the moment.
I'm sure they know what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. More than us, right? Okay, so Cayle just having a quick look at the graveyard to see what's been used so far. Probably pretty happy to see, you know, at least 1 Weave Ice gone. Now, I do know Cayle pretty well, and he did mention jokingly before the game for me to refer to the fact that he has a quote-unquote one-trick and can only play Guardian.
Yeah.
So but he also wanted to point out the time that he crushed me in about 4 turns in a ProQuest final playing Wizard. So.
Oh yeah, I remember that final. It
was a great game.
It was a great game.
Okay, so you're correct. So the Honing Hood was used here.
Oh, comes in with Electrify.
Okay, it looks like a blue Electrify, I believe.
So he can. Yeah.
So it opens up his arsenal.
Draws him a card.
Do you think he might be potentially looking at that Bolton shot now that he can give it +1 with the Shiver?
Yes, but the thing is, even if he gives, he can bolt. The thing is, he can Bolton shot.
Maybe follow up with like an Icy Encounter or something like that.
Force a block and then Icy Encounter, and then Arsenal a card because 3 cards in it. Still has 3 cards in here.
One interesting thing is with the Frostbite, a bit of an interplay we might see is with Oldhim, if say you have a blue Earth card and some other ice card, you are, because of the Frostbite, able to overpitch to the hero ability to activate both.
Yeah.
So they might not necessarily be the best play here, but I'm just conscious of the fact that is a play open to him.
So Cayle elects to defend for 5?
Yep. I do really like the sequencing here with the Frostbite and everything, because otherwise, sometimes you can get stuck where you come up with this attack for with a breakpoint, but Oldhim defends with the card for 3, pitches the blue Earth card, and gets that 1 shield left over to also hit the next breakpoint. Very frustrating to play against.
And here we go, pitching Lightning Surge to play an Icy Encounter.
Okay,
so we'll see what. 5? Oh, Cayle just dumps his whole hand.
Now, again, I feel Cayle's going to be pretty happy with that,
Yeah,
right?
No damage was dealt to him?
No damage. He got 7 damage through, no damage was dealt, and the Honing Hood is now gone. But in saying that, you know, I believe I spoke to both Cayle and Matt before the draft started earlier, and they both mentioned that, interestingly, that like Lexi and Oldhim, well, basically a lot of heroes here, but Lexi's one of those heroes that if you're the only one in the draft, has an extremely, extremely high power ceiling,
yes.
Even if there's 1 or 2. And they also mentioned actually Oldhim like that as well. They said like usually in a draft it can support sort of up to 2 Oldhim or Lexis, and sometimes up to 3 or 4 Briars, just because of how those heroes work and interact with the elemental cards.
Well, what if you're the only Briar?
If you're the only Briar, then you're probably going to have a pretty good time as well, I feel.
Right, finish your games in 10 minutes. And here we go.
Okay.
Pitching to play Overflex.
This could be a big turn here because we've seen 2 turn timbers used, 1 pitched early.
Coming in with Dazzling Crescendo, but it's... I don't think he
Is there no fuse
fused
there?
it. So there's actually no go again.
Okay, so look,
Oh yeah, there's no go again. Cayle fully defends it.
one thing to note, there was a Rejuvenate gone, so that is something because I feel Cayle probably quite likes to use those. He may be thinking he's used 2 turn timbers already, so there's only one sort of combo, quote unquote, that he can use for there. But he does have a card down in Arsenal now.
And then Cayle's still on 22 life.
He's still on 22 life, so I can Cayle's a great guy, and he when he has a good deck, he is not afraid to tell people about it. He was quite confident about this one.
Here we go.
Okay, so
Here
he's
we go
coming
for it
with
Overflex.
Yep, like I said before, I'm starting to see why both these players are 2-0 in their draft pod.
Just got insane drafts.
Okay, so he is going to get some damage through this time. Now, unfortunately for Kieran, that the Chilling Item was not fused as in a follow-up ability. Now, we'll see if Cayle has something lined up. 3 cards in hand and Arsenal. We could see something pretty big here.
Oh, so tomorrow?
Oh, okay, so, Cayle's the man with the plan. He's like, I'll defend with the early. And then I'll make the commentators look silly for questioning it. But I think, like we said, though, right, he had this big life lead, but already he needs to be a little bit concerned about how this game is tracking.
Yep.
It's down, the life lead has now been decreased to 6. There are 10 timbers used.
Kieran's just taking the 4.
No, just taking the 4. He does have that Mark of Lightning, which can line up very big plays as well, I think particularly with fused arrows.
Oh, there we go. Flipping Electrify. Means his next attack will have go again, so maybe Kieran can land 2, could potentially play 2 or even 3 attacks this turn with his, and he does have 4 cards in hand.
Yep, so he is limited to 1 arrow, of course, with the Shiver once per turn, but he can line up quite a big attack here. So if he comes in with, say, +1 or dominated arrow followed up by any number of things, Ice Encounter. Light news to mention, of course, there is the ability for things like Entwine Lightning, which I think might be in his hand there, to line up potentially 3 attacks in a turn. Now I wonder, I can't see if he has a Lightning card. That might have been something he'd been digging for there. It could be in Greek though, we'll have to see. Obviously it's quite cool as well for things like Frazzle, which...
Here we go, Shiver. Speaking of the devil.
Yeah, because I did see he drew that. Nice, so he's got the flash. All right, so this is going to be quite a powerful turn here because he's got this into the Entwine Lightning with Go again as well, which has that sort of ability onto it. And he still has 1 resource open, I believe.
Oh, I think he has an arrow in his hand.
But he can't play the arrow correct because he's already on the Frazzle.
Because he's already used Shiver.
So one thing is here, we have to point out, of course, that from Kieran's perspective, if he strips Cayle's whole hand here, that Strength of Sequoia has gone to waste again. So Cayle's kind of got to look at this here, and now he's starting to counter his deck, which is quite wise, because we talk about fatigue, but we don't actually know. Like, if the Lexi player... I wasn't paying close attention, but it looked relatively even, deck size.
I think Kieran has 14. I'm not sure about Cayle.
Because one thing is here, we talk about fatigue, but the thing is, like Cayle's doing here, if you're blocking, defending cards with 2 or 3 cards every turn, it can start to come quite quickly. So this Entwine Lightning is potentially hitting for 5 here. Oh no, the Electrify, of course. Wow.
Cool.
Wow, okay, so...
Just like that,
Just like that, now we're playing Flesh and Blood. Okay, so
coming over mulch.
So that's coming through for 10, I believe. But with the Strength of Sequoia. So that's going to force at least 2 cards out of hand. But honestly, I feel Cayle was feeling pretty comfortable and suddenly not feeling so comfortable. I imagine from counting the deck size there, he was a bit concerned about Strength of Sequoia. If you play it out and you don't use it, that's a card wasted in your deck.
I think Cayle just didn't know that the Electrify was still active.
it is possible that he missed the electrify thing thinking it was just 1 extra damage, because that was a lot of damage.
Yeah, it was
in the
8
end there.
damage.
Because like we saw last game as well with Lexi, Lexi can operate very well off these 2 or 3 card hands, can't they? And again, like I mentioned, maybe I'll check this one with you, Newson. The Mark of Lightning interaction, if they defend with a card and you can use it to deal 1 damage, that counts for arrow triggers, I believe. So things like if you use a Chilling Ice Flame and they defend, you can use the Mark of Lightning. Does it make the attack deal it? Or I may have to double check that one.
Yes, I think it does make the attack deal it.
Okay, so we'll see. I feel it might be an ice.
Oh.
Oh, so we just played the flash to get rid of it there.
Oh,
okay, so the window, I feel like
Cayle
needs to make something happen here. We saw last game when the Oldhim stalled out a little bit.
So there we go, another mulch.
So this one's coming with 8, and again, that's 2 more cards. Now the danger here for Oldhim, like we saw in that the game with Oldhim vs Briar earlier, was that you can do these things where you strip multiple cards from their hand, but then you end up with a dead hand, you get stuck, and they come back with a huge turn and kill you.
Taking 2.
Okay, so this is going to be an extremely important turn.
Right. Oh, we didn't.
So he pitches.
Oh, he didn't flip the ice card to give Cayle a frostbite. Oh,
I think that was a small mistake here.
Oh, that's that might cost him.
That might cost him dearly, because particularly in these sort of things where I think with the fuse mechanic in particular, where a number of cards in hands matters even more than it might otherwise.
Yeah.
That one could hurt. We'll see if he gets away with it. Now I believe this card has Nominate because it looks like he did not pitch to pay for the Polar Blast. Yep. And as Ruck says, I believe, apologies if I got that wrong, has pointed out.
So Shock Striker will hit, and then he'll use Mark of Lightning to deal an extra 2 damage. So Shock Striker will deal 1 damage, and then Mark of Lightning will deal another damage.
Okay, so as someone pointed out in the chat, Cayle should know what's coming up by now.
Great. Oh, there's our favorite.
There's our favorite card, the old Glacial Footsteps, coming in for 9. And, that could be 3 or even 4 cards here.
Classic Cayle thinking he's won the game already.
I can sort of see that here, but the way he threw this card down, it kind of looked like he conceded, but yeah. But like we say, you are at risk of those dead hands here because you need to force multiple blocks every single turn now.
Oh, Earthlord
Surge. I think Earthlord Surge is very good at doing.
Snow under.
Now I believe that's coming in for 10, 6 plus 4 if I'm not mistaken. Another 4 cards now. And how many cards does Kieran have left in his deck now? I believe it's going to be very few.
Yeah, I think Cayle's in a good. Oh,
well, 1 or very few, and he extends their hand. And I think we saw some masterful gameplay from there. Because, sometimes, particularly in these sort of pressure rounds where you really want to go 6-0, it takes, you got to have kind of those iron nerves, that iron will to be like, I'm going to take 8 damage here, and I'm going to sequence out my next 3 or 4 turns in game 2. Because I feel it's very easy to get into the trap of this is an important game. I've got a life lead. I'm just going to protect the life lead.
Yeah.
But life is not the only resource in Flesh and Blood. And cards in deck is a very, very important one here. And Cayle just, I think, knew exactly what was going on, right?
Cayle knew the plan. He didn't hesitate to defend with 4 cards and just passed his turn. As long as he kept his life high and he waited for the right moment to take some damage and then just blow Kieran out with a huge attack.
Yep, and we can see there, as some people in the chat are mentioning, I want to give full credit to Kieran for playing a very strong Lexi game there as well. I thought he sequenced it very nicely. That one minor misplay, not flipping out the Polar Blast to give an ice, a frostbite, I'm trying to think if that